This video is a guide to using the CPD system for new members to show you how to put CPD returns into the system, which is a requirement. Starting from the home screen of the Society's website, you need to input your username and password, and you should come to this, the members area. Scroll down and you'll see a button here, My CPD. If you click here, you'll be taken to the information about the CPD system. You can see here the actuarial standard, which tells you all the full details. And here you can see 4 documents which will give you some background and other information. All of these are worth reading, but these are not what you want if you want to put in your own information. So let's come back here and press on this plus button, and you'll see a drop-down menu. Now, the most important thing you need to do is to make sure your category declaration is correct. This determines how much CPD you are required to do. So let's click on it. If you haven't done one of these already, then you need to do it. There are 5 different categories that members can fall in. I should mention that this only applies until this summer because the CPD system is very likely to change this summer. Category 1 and Category 2A apply to people doing special roles. Let's have a look. Category 1 applies to those doing with practicing certificates or HOFs or reviewing actuaries, and Category 2A are those who in pre-approved control functions of the CBI. Most new members will not be in either of these categories. Most will in fact be in Category 2B. But before we look at that, come down here, we see Category 2C and 3. Category 1 and Category 2A require more CPD than the normal level, which is Category 2B. Category 2C and Category 3 require less. Category 2C applies to those in the wider fields, and the definition is here. You have to work in none of these areas: financial services, pensions, or actuarial education. If that does apply to you, then your CPD requirements are lower. Category 3 applies to those people who are not working. Now, by this, I mean you are neither working nor seeking work. If you happen to be unemployed and are looking for a job, then I'm afraid you are not in Category 3. The 2 classes of people that normally fall into Category 3 are those who are retired and those who are on career breaks. There is also the possibility that you might be long-term sick. Career breaks only count if they're for 3 months or more, and probably the largest number of people on those career breaks are those doing maternity leave. So these are the details of the categories you want, and you select which one you want from this drop-down menu. And it's probably going to be Category 2B, which is basically everybody who doesn't fall into 1, 2A, 2C, or 3. You put the date in which this applied from, which would be the date you became associate or fellow, whichever was the earlier, of the society. If you are changing this, for example, if you went on a career break or if you were promoted into a control function, then you would need to do another entry. But this date put in here, which you can get by clicking this, cannot be later than the current date. You can't post these things in advance. You can see, if you look down here, that I'm in Category 2B. So, having done this, let's suppose that you might want to input some CPD. Coming back here to the drop-down menu, and this is possibly the hardest thing to spot: create return. You press create return when you have an individual item of CPD that you want to put in. Now, we strongly recommend that as you do each piece of CPD, you do post it as soon as possible afterwards. We do know that some members choose to leave it all to the year end. And the problem with that is you may forget what you've done. It is easier to keep it going as you go. Anyway, here we are. First thing you need to do is put in a title. Now, I'm going to input a little bit of CPD that I did a week ago. I'm going to pause a moment. And now you can see I've typed in what it was. This is who organizes it. Most likely you'll be filling this one in, but this isn't true for this particular event. It's another organization. And now we come to the CPD year. Now, I'm afraid this is a little bit misleading. We're currently in special circumstances. A year ago, when we had the impact of the COVID, a decision was taken to run the two CPD years into one to give members more flexibility in rather chaotic times. So although it says CPD year ending on 30th of June, right this minute, and for 2021, it means the period, a 2-year period. And you can see how there's 2018, 2019, there's no 2020. So this is a 24-month period. It'll default to that. On this date, you put in the date. You only fill this in if the event lasted more than 1 day. Here, type in the number of hours. It was 1 hour for me. Here, you determine whether it's external or not. Now, an event is external if it's more likely, has more people outside a company. So if you're attending something that's done inside your company for people, or mostly people from inside your company, then it's not external. Verifiable, well, this was verifiable. I have an email to show it. I should note that all events done by the society will be automatically verifiable, provided you registered using your own name. Coming down here, are professionalism skills included? Well, in this case, the answer is yes. And here, this is quite important. Although I've put in 1 hour up here, and I've put in professional skills down here, it will not register it unless I put the same hour in there. And of course, it's possible that maybe only half the event would have professionalism, in which case that would have been 0.5. I'm not going to put a learning outcome here. That's not necessary unless you've got non-verifiable CPD that you want to put forward. Now, that's that bit done. I'm not a Category 1 member, but I am a Category 2B member, so I have to expand on the button. Here, relevant hours. Well, this was relevant to my job. So yes, 1 hour goes in there, but no, it wasn't technical, so I leave that at none. I scroll down. At the bottom, you'll notice the little arrows there, and I press save. And that event is now registered. Coming back to here, we can see what else is in here. This is a useful thing. This allows you to see what you've put in. So if I click on this, again, we have some dates. And you can see a list of all the events that you've put in for that period. You can see there are, in fact, for me, 3 pages, which is what you'd expect, given that I work for the society. And down at the bottom, you can see the entry I just made. Coming back, there's something useful here, and this is the full CPD report. If you click on here, again, this is not a CPD year. Again, this is a list of the categories, a list of all the things you've done. And again, that's the one I just posted. And here you've got a total. This line totals everything that I've done. So you can see that I've done just under 54.5 hours. By the way, whenever you're putting in hours, if it's 1 hour, 30 minutes, that's 1.5. I'm afraid people do get that wrong occasionally. Very useful here is the requirements. So if you want to know how much you need to do, I'll click on 2B because that's what I am. You can just scroll down here and you can see I need to have 30 hours, 15 of which are verifiable, and so on along here. So I can scoop up here and see that for all the categories that are there, I'm actually already exceeding the amounts required. So I've done enough for the year, but I will continue to post stuff in here as it's a good record. One small point is this thing, verifiable. You may remember when you put the entry in, you click the button whether it's verifiable or not. If I had clicked no, then it would have appeared in a separate box, a separate summary of non-verifiable events. So you'd be able to check that there. So let's go back. Oh, and oh, no. There we are. Sorry, that box, by the way, you won't have. That's for people who work for the society. Here, you can see all these things. There's one last thing you need to know, which is create a compliance declaration. This you will only do at the end of the CPD period. So you won't be doing this until the summer this year. But it's the final step of closing off the year. You will be sent an email asking you to create your compliance declaration come the summer. And you can see this repeats the declaration you made about category. This is the year. These will automatically be filled. And then you've got to click one of these two buttons. Hopefully you'll be clicking that one. Now, I would strongly recommend that you do not click that one, because if they aren't up to date, it's simple. You just go back to the created category declaration and make it up to date. If you're not complying with the requirements of ASPPA 1, i.e. the requirement to do CPD, then you should rectify that rather than just leaving that blank. These two things are available for people who are not as have some different requirements because they're not actually working in Ireland. So these probably won't apply to you. If you've got any difficulty, you can always talk to me about them. And again, I recommend you don't click that button. If you have not complied with ASPPA 1, I would suggest you contact the society and sort things out. People will not get into deep trouble if they do fail to miss a small bit of CPD. Normally what we ask is for people to give an undertaking to make good the shortfall. So having clicked in this, you also then have to do this declaration. This is something that you are required to do. General actuarial practice, actuarial standard. Come down here and there we have the save button. I'm not going to click it because it's not the end of the year. Coming back to here, we've now covered, I think, everything. So one last point, if you do have any questions, please contact me by email. The email address is cpd@actuaries.ie. That's cpd@actuaries.ie. Thank you very much. I hope this is useful.